The crystal wine glasses caught the glow of 100 Christmas lights as my husband stood at the head of our dining table, raising a toast to the woman who made his life complete.
Me.
His wife of 8 years. The woman he'd been stealing from. To Clara, Ethan said, that practiced smile spreading across his face like butter on warm bread. The woman who makes every Christmas brighter. Everyone clapped. His mother beamed. His colleagues nodded approvingly. Vanessa, his assistant, sat 3 seats down, fidgeting with something gold and sparkling on her wrist. My bracelet. Bought with my money. I smiled back at him, the kind of smile that doesn't quite reach your eyes but looks perfect in photographs. Oh, Ethan, I said, my voice honey-sweet. That's so thoughtful. But before you finish that beautiful speech, I actually have a surprise too. The room went quiet. You could hear the soft crackle of the fireplace, smell the cinnamon from the mulled wine cooling on the counter. You didn't have to, he started. I insist. I stood, smoothing down my red dress, and walked toward the living room. My heart was racing, but my hands were steady. 8 months of discovery, 3 months of planning, and now, finally, the moment I'd been waiting for. I returned carrying a large box wrapped in metallic red paper with a gold bow on top. Beautiful. Festive. Completely appropriate for the season. Have you ever planned something so perfectly that you could taste the victory before it even happened? Drop a comment if you know that feeling. I set the box in front of Ethan. This, I said clearly, making sure every person in that room could hear me, is a gift you'll never forget. He chuckled nervously, glancing around at his audience. His fingers fumbled with the ribbon. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The paper tore easily. He lifted the lid. Inside sat a neat stack of printed documents, bank statements, receipts, transaction logs. On top, a small cream-colored card with gold lettering that read, Merry Christmas, darling. To my forever thief. The color drained from his face. What? Clara, what is this? His voice cracked on my name. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Because right then the doorbell rang. Perfect timing. I walked past him, past the table of confused guests, past his mother who'd started to reach for the papers, and opened the front door. Noah stepped inside, snow dusting his shoulders, phone in his hand. Vanessa's fiancé. Or should I say, former fiancé. Merry Christmas, Noah said, his voice cold and controlled. He held up his phone, showing a photo of Vanessa and Ethan in a hotel lobby, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. Thought I'd drop by and thank you both personally for saving me from marrying a liar. The room exploded.
Gasps.
Someone's fork clattered against their plate. Ethan's mother's hand flew to her mouth. His boss, yes, his boss was there, leaned back in his chair, eyes wide. And Vanessa? She'd gone completely white, that diamond bracelet suddenly feeling like a shackle around her wrist. Ethan, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rising chaos. I turned to her, my smile never wavering. Oh, don't look so surprised, sweetheart. You're wearing my bracelet after all. The one he bought with $63,000 stolen from our savings. Hope the engraving was everything you dreamed of. Ethan tried to stand, tried to speak, but no coherent words came out. Just stammering. Excuses dying before they could fully form. I reached into my purse and pulled out one more envelope.
Red.
Sealed with gold wax. Very festive. These, I said, placing it gently beside his plate, are divorce papers. Pre-signed. Predated. Ready to file first thing tomorrow morning. I picked up my wine glass, took one long sip, and smiled at the room full of witnesses. Merry Christmas, everyone. What would you do if you discovered your partner stole everything from you to fund someone else? Would you stay silent? Or would you make sure everyone knew the truth? You're probably wondering how I got to that moment. How a woman who used to send good morning, handsome texts ended up serving her husband's betrayal on a silver platter in front of 30 witnesses. Let me take you back. 2 years ago, if you'd seen us at the grocery store or walking Milo through the park, you'd have thought we had it all figured out. The Divinas. That's what people called us, like we were a brand, not just a couple. Ethan was everything a woman was supposed to want. Tall, confident, the kind of guy who could walk into a room and own it without saying a word. He'd just been promoted to regional director at Thompson Logistics, and suddenly we were invited to company galas, networking dinners, all the things that came with climbing that corporate ladder.
Me?
I was the steady one. Clara Devine, CPA. The woman who balanced checkbooks while he chased dreams. I didn't mind. I liked numbers. They made sense. They didn't lie. We had matching Christmas sweaters we actually wore, without irony. We posted anniversary photos with captions like, 8 years and counting, with little heart emojis. We talked about opening a winery someday, somewhere in Napa, where we'd grow old watching grapes ripen on the vine. Picture perfect, right? Except perfection photographs well, but it doesn't live well. The cracks started small. A missed dinner here. A forgotten text there. Sorry, babe. Got caught up at the office. Then came the late nights that turned into overnight trips. Big client presentation. I'll be back tomorrow. His phone became a vault. Face down on tables. Password changed without mention. New cologne I never bought him. Lingering on his collar when he climbed into bed at 2 in the morning. I'm not stupid. I'm a CPA. I notice patterns. Discrepancies. Things that don't add up. But here's the thing about betrayal. Sometimes you see it coming and convince yourself you're just being paranoid. That love means trust. That suspicion makes you the bad guy. So I smiled through family dinners, laughed at his jokes, kissed him goodnight while my stomach twisted into knots. Until November, when I was preparing our tax documents. That's when I saw it. 3 withdrawals from our joint investment account. The one we'd been building for 10 years. Our winery fund. Our future. $15,000. Then $22,000. Then $26,000. All labeled project funding. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. $63,000.
Gone.
Ethan didn't have a project. He was a logistics director, not an entrepreneur. We didn't invest in startups. We didn't fund ventures. I circled those numbers in red ink, my pen pressing so hard it nearly tore through the paper. When he came home that night, whistling some tune I didn't recognize, I met him in the kitchen. Hey babe, he said, kissing my cheek like nothing in the world was wrong. Ethan, I said carefully. I was reviewing our accounts today. His smile didn't falter, but something flickered in his eyes. Yeah, there are some large withdrawals I don't recognize. Project funding. He laughed.
Easy. Practiced. Oh, that.
Yeah, work's been expanding. We're funding a company retreat initiative. Team building stuff. It's all temporary, Clara.
Don't worry about it.
His eyes didn't meet mine when he said it. Temporary, I repeated.
Yeah.
It'll all get reimbursed. You know how corporate accounting works, slow as molasses. He grabbed a beer from the fridge and headed toward the living room, conversation over. I stood there, pen still in my hand, feeling something inside me shift. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. I was going to watch. Document.
Wait.
Because if he was lying about this, what else had he been lying about? Have you ever known something was wrong but waited to prove it? That moment when instinct becomes evidence? December brought snow and Christmas music and a hollow feeling in my chest that no amount of hot cocoa could fix. I started tracking everything. Every login to our bank account. Every withdrawal. Every transaction. I set up alerts on my phone so I'd know the second money moved. I photographed receipts left in his pockets. I noted the times he said he was working late and cross-referenced them with his location sharing, which he'd conveniently turned off 3 months ago. Funny how you don't notice these things until you're looking. The numbers painted a picture clearer than any confession ever could. November 3rd, $800 at a restaurant I'd never heard of. Capitol Grill. That was the night he said he was working late on a proposal. November 9th, $1,200 at the Riverside Hotel. Client dinner, he'd told me. Clients don't need hotel rooms for dinner. November 23rd. The big one. $3,800 at Hartwell and Company, a jewelry boutique downtown. I sat at my desk, staring at that charge, feeling my throat tighten. $3,800. 2 weeks before Christmas. I thought maybe it was for me. An extravagant gift. An apology for all the distance, the missed moments, the feeling that I was living with a stranger who wore my husband's face. So I waited for Christmas morning. And you know what I got? A scarf. A nice one, sure. Cashmere. Cream-colored. $200, maybe. Not $3,800. I smiled when I opened it, kissed his cheek, said all the right things. But inside, something was screaming. 3 days later, I was cleaning his car. He'd asked me to take it through the wash, and I found myself vacuuming the interior, wiping down the dashboard, checking under the seats for forgotten gym socks or old receipts. That's when I found it, tucked beneath the driver's seat, crumpled but readable. A receipt from Hartwell and Company. I unfolded it slowly, my hands trembling. Diamond tennis bracelet. Custom engraving. Total, $3,847.92. Customer name, Ethan Devine. And there, in small print at the bottom, engraving, to my forever light, E. Recipient, Vanessa Lane. I stopped breathing. Vanessa Lane, his assistant. The one who'd started 6 months ago. The one he mentioned casually over dinner sometimes. Vanessa's really helping streamline the spreadsheets. Or Vanessa covered for me during that presentation. Vanessa, who was engaged to some guy named Noah. I'd seen her Instagram once when Ethan showed me a work photo.
Pretty. Young.
Mid-20s maybe. All smiles and brunch posts and blessed captions. I sat in that car in our driveway holding that receipt and felt the world tilt sideways. My forever light. He'd given her my money and called her his forever light. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for my fingers to go numb from the cold. Long enough for Milo to start barking from inside the house, wondering where I'd gone. When I finally walked back inside, Ethan was on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Car's clean," I said. "Thanks, babe. You're the best." He didn't even look up. I went to my office, closed the door, and did what any good accountant would do. I started building my case. Bank statements. Credit card records. That receipt. Screenshots of our account activity. I created a folder on my laptop labeled Tax Prep 2024 and filled it with evidence. Then I did something that surprised even me. I found Vanessa Lane on social media. Her Instagram was public. Easy to scroll through. And there it was. Photos from November. Her wrist. That bracelet. Sparkling in restaurant lighting, in hotel mirrors, in selfies with captions like feeling blessed and grateful for the little things. Little things. $63,000 worth of little things. I took screenshots of everything. Then I found her fiancé's profile. Noah Brennan. Software engineer. Seemed like a decent guy. Lots of couple photos, vacation shots, posts about their upcoming wedding. He had no idea. I sat there, staring at his profile picture. Him and Vanessa on a hiking trail, both grinning like they'd found something real, and I felt something I hadn't expected.
Pity.
This guy was planning a future with someone who was wearing another man's bracelet. My husband's bracelet. My money. I opened a private message. "Noah, you don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about Vanessa and my husband, Ethan." I attached 3 screenshots. The receipt. The bracelet on her wrist. A photo of them together at a company event, his hand on her lower back. Then I hit send. For 10 minutes, nothing. Then, "Is this real?"
Yes.
"I have more if you need it." 5 more minutes of silence. Then, "When can we meet?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. Not a happy smile. A sharp one. "Christmas dinner. My house. I'll send you the address." Another pause. Then, "See you at dinner." I closed my laptop and walked to the kitchen, where Ethan was making himself a sandwich, humming that same tune I didn't recognize. "You seem happy," he said. "I am," I replied. "Christmas is going to be unforgettable this year." Would you have reached out to Noah? Or handled it differently? Let me know in the comments. Christmas was supposed to feel magical. That's what everyone says, right? The most wonderful time of the year. But when you're living with a thief wearing a wedding ring, every twinkling light feels like a lie. I moved through the days on autopilot, smiling at neighbors, wrapping presents for Ethan's family, baking cookies I had no intention of eating, all while my phone buzzed with messages from Noah, each one confirming what I already knew. He sent me screenshots of Vanessa's calendar, lunch meetings that lasted 4 hours, client dinners at hotels, date nights that coincided exactly with Ethan's supposed late work meetings. The evidence piled up like snow, silent, cold, undeniable. But I needed one more thing. Proof that the money came directly from our account. Not some corporate card. Not a bonus I didn't know about. Our account. The one I'd contributed to for 10 years while he climbed his ladder, and I kept our life steady. I called Hartwell and Company. "Hi, this is Clara Devine," I said, my voice professional, detached. "My husband purchased a bracelet from you in November. I need a copy of the invoice for insurance purposes." The woman on the other end was chipper, helpful. "Of course. Let me pull that up." "Devine, you said?"
Yes.
"Ethan Devine." Clicking sounds. Then, oh yes, the custom engraved piece. Beautiful choice. I'll email that right over. Perfect. And just to confirm, payment came from a joint account ending in 7342. More clicking. Yes, that's correct. My heart hammered, but my voice stayed calm.
Great.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays. I hung up and stared at my phone. There it was. Final confirmation. He'd stolen from us to buy her a bracelet worth more than most people's rent. The invoice arrived in my email 10 minutes later. I printed 3 copies. One for Noah. One for me. One for the box I was already planning. That night, Ethan came home with Chinese takeout and a smile. "Thought we could have a quiet night in," he said, setting containers on the counter. "Just us. Just us. Like, we were still in us. Like, he hadn't spent the last 6 months building a different life with someone else." "That sounds nice," I said. We ate on the couch, Milo curled between us. Ethan talked about work, about the upcoming holiday party, about how excited he was for our family Christmas dinner. "It's going to be great this year," he said. "I invited a few colleagues. Hope that's okay."
Of course, I said.
"The more the merrier."
He squeezed my hand.
I let him, because I knew something he didn't. One of those colleagues was wearing my bracelet, and her fiancé was coming to dinner. The next few days blurred together. I finalized the menu, confirmed RSVPs, decorated the house until it looked like a Christmas catalog had exploded in our living room. Ethan kept commenting on how happy I seemed. "You've been in such a good mood lately," he said one morning, watching me arrange ornaments on the tree. I smiled. "I'm just excited for Christmas." "Me too. This year feels special." He had no idea how special it was about to be. On Christmas Eve, I wrapped the box. Red metallic paper.
Gold bow.
Perfect corners. Inside, I placed everything: bank statements, receipts, screenshots, the bracelet invoice. On top, a card with gold lettering I'd had custom printed. "Merry Christmas, darling. To my forever thief." I set it under the tree right in front. Ethan walked by and chuckled. "That's a big one. Who's that for?" "You'll see tomorrow." That night, I barely slept. Not from nerves, from anticipation. Because tomorrow wasn't just Christmas.
Tomorrow was Judgment Day.
Christmas morning arrived with fresh snow and weak winter sunlight. Ethan made coffee while I got dressed, red dress, gold earrings, the necklace he'd given me on our 5th anniversary back when his gifts actually came from love, not guilt. "You look beautiful," he said when I came downstairs. "Thank you." Guests started arriving around 2. His parents. His brother and sister-in-law. A few colleagues from work. Vanessa came with her usual bright smile, that bracelet catching every light in the room. She hugged me at the door. "Merry Christmas, Clara. Thank you so much for having me." I hugged her back. "Wouldn't be Christmas without you." Her smile faltered for just a second, like she could sense something but couldn't name it. Ethan played host, pouring drinks, telling stories, working the room like he was born for it. And then, at 6:30, the doorbell rang one more time. I opened it to find Noah, snow on his coat, eyes hard and focused. "Merry Christmas," I said quietly. "Merry Christmas, Clara." We'd never met in person, but somehow it felt like we'd known each other for years. He stepped inside, and I led him to the living room where everyone was gathered, laughing, drinking, completely unaware that everything was about to shatter. Ethan saw him and paused mid-sentence. "I don't think we've—" "I'm Noah," he said simply. "Vanessa's fiancé." The room shifted. Vanessa turned white. Ethan recovered quickly.
Oh,
"Noah. Vanessa mentioned you might stop by. Welcome." He extended his hand. Noah looked at it but didn't shake. "Thanks. I won't be staying long." The tension was thick enough to cut. I glanced at the clock. 6:45. Time to open presents. "Before we eat," I announced, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I think we should do gifts." Ethan raised his glass. "Actually, I wanted to make a toast first." "This won't take long," I said, my smile wide and bright. I walked to the tree and picked up the red box. Everyone watched as I carried it to the dining table and set it in front of Ethan. "This one's special," I said. "Open it now." He laughed nervously. "Clara, you're making a scene?" "I know." His fingers fumbled with the bow. And that's when everything I'd been holding inside for 2 months finally came to light. What would you do in this moment? Stay quiet or let the truth explode? Drop your answer below. The paper tore slowly. Too slowly. Like the universe wanted to stretch this moment out, make him suffer in the silence before the storm. Ethan's hands shook as he lifted the lid. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. He stared down at the papers, his face draining of color like someone had pulled a plug. His mouth opened.
Closed.
Opened again. "Clara." His voice cracked on my name. What is this?" I didn't answer. I turned to Noah instead. "Would you like to share your gift too?" Noah pulled out his phone, held it up for the room to see. On the screen, a photo of Ethan and Vanessa in a hotel lobby, her head resting on his shoulder, his arm wrapped around her waist. Timestamp: November 16th, 10:47 p.m. "This," Noah said, his voice steady despite the rage I could see burning in his eyes, "is what I got for Christmas this year. The truth." Gasps rippled through the room like a cold wind. Ethan's mother grabbed the edge of the table. His brother stood up, eyes wide. "Ethan?" Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. "What is he talking about?" I reached into the box and pulled out the bracelet invoice, holding it up like evidence in a courtroom. "This is what he's talking about, Vanessa. The $3,800 diamond bracelet my husband bought you. With money from our joint account. The one we'd been saving in for 10 years. I placed it on the table, right next to his wine glass. The engraving was a nice touch, by the way. "To my forever light."
Very romantic.
Expensive too, considering it was my money. Vanessa stood up, so fast her chair scraped against the floor. Tears streamed down her face. "I didn't know, I swear I didn't know it was your money. But you knew he was married." Silence. "Vanessa?" Noah's voice cut through the room. "Answer her." She couldn't. She just stood there, crying, that bracelet on her wrist suddenly looking like a shackle. Ethan finally found his voice. "This is insane. Clara, you're making a scene over a misunderstanding. $63,000 isn't a misunderstanding, Ethan. It's theft." His boss, Richard, who'd been sitting quietly near the end of the table, leaned forward. 63,000? "Ethan, where did that money come from?" Ethan's eyes darted between me, his boss, his mother. "It's not what it looks like." "Then what is it?" I asked calmly. "Explain it to everyone. Explain how our savings disappeared. Explain the hotel charges, the restaurant bills, the jewelry. Explain it." He couldn't. I pulled out the next document, a printout of our bank statements with every suspicious transaction highlighted in yellow. November 3rd. $800 at Capitol Grill. You said you were working late. I placed it on the table. November 9th. 1200 at the Riverside Hotel. You said it was a client dinner. Another page. November 16th. The night of this photo. You told me you were in meetings until midnight. I kept stacking them one after another, building a tower of lies right there in front of his family, his colleagues, his mistress. November 23rd. The bracelet. My Christmas present to you, apparently. His mother stood up, her face pale. Ethan Michael Devine, tell me this isn't true. Mom, I can explain. Then explain, she shouted. I'd never heard her raise her voice before. Ethan ran his hands through his hair, his perfect composure finally cracking. It happened. We didn't plan it. Vanessa and I. Don't. Vanessa was sobbing now. Don't say my name. Don't act like I knew about any of this. You wore the bracelet, Noah said quietly. You took the trips. You let him pay for everything. You knew. She shook her head, but even she didn't look convinced. I reached into my purse and pulled out one final envelope.
Red.
Sealed with gold wax. I'd been saving this moment. These, I said, placing the envelope in front of Ethan, are divorce papers. Pre-signed. Predated. Ready to file tomorrow morning. His hands trembled as he picked it up. Clara, please.
We can fix this.
We can go to counseling. I'm not interested in fixing what you broke. I love you. No, you don't. You love what I provided. Stability. A clean house. Someone to smile in your photos while you built a second life behind my back. I turned to address the whole room. I spent 2 months gathering this evidence. 2 months watching him lie to my face. 2 months wondering if I was crazy for suspecting him. Turns out I wasn't crazy. I was just married to a thief. Richard cleared his throat. Ethan, I think you and I need to have a conversation. Tomorrow. My office. 8 a.m. Ethan's face went even whiter. Richard, this is personal. You expensed some of these charges through corporate accounts, didn't you? The silence was deafening. My office. 8 a.m. People started standing, gathering coats. Ethan's sister-in-law was crying. His brother wouldn't even look at him. His mother walked past without a word, her disappointment heavier than any accusation. Within 10 minutes, the house was nearly empty. Just me, Ethan, Vanessa, and Noah remained. I trusted you, Noah said to Vanessa. I was planning our wedding while you were. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. He shook his head and walked out, leaving her standing there alone. She looked at me, mascara running down her face. I really didn't know about the money, but you knew about the wife. She didn't answer. Just took off the bracelet, set it on the table, and left. Then it was just us. Me and Ethan. In the house we'd built together, surrounded by Christmas decorations and the wreckage of everything we'd been. Clara, he whispered.
Please.
I made a mistake. I'll fix it. I'll pay back every cent. Just don't do this. I picked up my wine glass and took a slow sip. You already did this, Ethan. I'm just making sure everyone knows. I walked to the door, grabbed my coat. Where are you going? He asked. Somewhere that doesn't smell like lies. I opened the door, and Milo followed me out into the snow. Behind me, I heard Ethan sink into a chair, his perfect Christmas ruined. Mine, however, was just beginning. Have you ever had to walk away from everything you built because staying would break you? Tell me your story in the comments. Sometimes leaving is the only gift you can give yourself. The thing about exposing someone publicly is that the aftermath doesn't just disappear when you close the door. It follows you,
Hunts you.
demands answers you don't owe anyone. I drove to a hotel that night, Milo in the passenger seat, his head resting on my lap like he understood everything. Maybe he did. Dogs are better judges of character than most people. My phone exploded with messages. Ethan's mother, his brother, friends asking if it was true, acquaintances who'd seen the drama unfold suddenly wanting front row seats to the fallout. I turned my phone face down and checked into a suite overlooking the city. Christmas lights blinked in windows across the skyline, families celebrating in homes that weren't built on lies. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. Morning came with snow and clarity. I woke up to 17 missed calls from Ethan and one text, "Please come home. We need to talk." I deleted it without reading the rest. Then I called my lawyer. "Merry day after Christmas," Janet said when she picked up. "Let me guess. You're ready to file." "I am." "Good. I'll have everything processed by tomorrow." "And Clara? What you did took guts." "It took proof," I corrected. "Guts just made sure people saw it." By the time I got to the office 3 days later, the rumor mill had already done its work. Word spreads fast in corporate circles, especially when it involves stolen money and a regional director caught with his pants down, literally and figuratively. Richard, Ethan's boss, called me personally. "Clara, I want you to know we're conducting a full audit of Ethan's expense reports. If even half of what you presented is accurate, he won't just be fired. There will be legal consequences. I have copies of everything if you need them. Send them over. And Clara, I'm sorry you had to go through this." "Don't be sorry. Just make sure he doesn't do it to someone else." Within a week, the audit confirmed what I already knew. Ethan had been expensing personal charges through corporate accounts for months. Dinners with Vanessa labeled as client meetings. Hotel stays marked as business travel. Even the bracelet had been partially written off as a corporate gift. Thompson Logistics suspended him immediately, then terminated him, then threatened legal action for fraud. His perfect career?
Gone.
His reputation?
Shattered. And me?
I was just getting started. I put our house on the market in January. Didn't ask Ethan's permission. It was in both our names, but my lawyer made sure I got what I was owed. The divorce moved faster than most because he didn't fight it.
Couldn't fight it.
Not when every document I'd presented was airtight. Vanessa's engagement ended the night of Christmas dinner. Noah blocked her on everything, moved out of their shared apartment, and from what I heard through mutual connections, started dating someone new by February. Vanessa quit her job. Or maybe she was asked to leave. Either way, she disappeared from social media, deleted her accounts, vanished into whatever corner people go to when their sins catch up with them. I didn't feel bad for her. I didn't feel anything for her. She made her choices. Now, she lived with them. But here's what surprised me. I didn't feel satisfied either. Revenge wasn't the victory I thought it would be. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't triumphant. It was just necessary. Like draining an infection. Painful, but required if you wanted to heal. By March, I'd moved to a smaller city 2 hours north. Quieter.
Cleaner.
The kind of place where people didn't ask about your past because everyone had come there to start over. I rented a small office downtown and hung a sign, "Divine Financial Recovery, Accounting Services for Women." My first client came in April. Her name was Michelle, and her story sounded painfully familiar. Husband drained their savings. She didn't know how to prove it, didn't know where to start. I showed her exactly what to look for. Within 3 weeks, we had a case. Within 6, she had her money back and a divorce decree. She cried in my office when it was over. I didn't think anyone would believe me. "I believe you," I said, "because I was you." Word spread. Slowly at first, then faster. Women started reaching out. Some through referrals. Some who'd read about my story online because, yes, it made the news. Local woman exposes husband's affair and theft at Christmas dinner, ran in 3 regional papers. I didn't do interviews.
Didn't need to.
The story told itself. By summer, I had 12 clients. By fall, 20. Each one came in broken, doubting themselves, wondering if they were crazy for suspecting their partners. And each one left with proof, power, and a plan. That's when I realized the best revenge wasn't the exposure. It was this: helping other women do what I did. Turning pain into precision. Turning betrayal into business. Ethan tried reaching out twice. Once through his lawyer, asking if we could reconcile some financial details. I sent back a single word. No. The second time, he showed up at my office unannounced. My assistant buzzed me. "There's a man here. Says he's your ex-husband." I looked at my calendar. I had 15 minutes before my next client. "Send him in." He walked through the door looking smaller than I remembered.
Thinner. Tired.
The confidence he'd worn like cologne was gone, replaced by something that looked like shame. Clara, he started. I just wanted to. You have 10 minutes, I said, not looking up from my computer. He sat down, fidgeted, ran his hands through hair that needed cutting. I messed up. I know that. I'm not here to make excuses. I wanted you to know I'm sorry. I finally looked at him. Are you sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. I lost everything, Clara.
My job.
My family. Your wife. I finished.
Yeah.
You lost her the moment you chose someone else. Silence stretched between us like a chasm. I'm getting help, he said quietly. Therapy. I'm trying to figure out why I don't care why, Ethan. That's your journey, not mine. He nodded slowly, stood up, walked to the door. Then he turned back. You really helped me become who I was, you know. I couldn't have gotten that promotion without you. I smiled, not warmly. I know. And you couldn't have stolen from me without it either. Funny how that works. He left without another word. I never saw him again. But here's the truth nobody tells you about revenge. It doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't rewind time or undo betrayal. What it does is give you control when everything felt powerless. It lets you decide how the story ends instead of letting someone else write your ending. And sometimes that's enough. If you've ever rebuilt yourself after someone tried to break you, drop a comment. Your story matters. And trust me, you're stronger than you think. 6 months after that Christmas dinner, I got an email that made me laugh out loud. Subject line: wedding invitation. I almost deleted it. Then I saw the sender, Noah Brennan. Curious, I opened it. Inside was a simple message. Thought you'd want to know, I'm getting married. Not to her. To someone who actually knows what honesty looks like. Thanks for the wake-up call.
Noah.
Attached was a photo of him with a woman who had kind eyes and a genuine smile. They looked happy. The real kind of happy, not the Instagram kind. I wrote back, congratulations. Wishing you both a lifetime of truth. He replied within minutes. Already off to a better start than last time. I smiled. At least one good thing came out of that disaster. But the real turning point came in September. I was featured in a regional business magazine, Women Rebuilding After Financial Betrayal. They interviewed me about divine financial recovery, about helping women document abuse, about turning my worst experience into my greatest purpose. The article went semi-viral. Shared on forums, reposted on social media, picked up by a few podcasts. And then the messages started flooding in. Women from across the country. Different stories, same patterns. Husbands who handled the finances. Boyfriends who borrowed money and never paid it back. Partners who gaslit them into thinking they were paranoid for asking questions. I couldn't help them all, but I could teach them what to look for. So I created a guide. A downloadable PDF, How to Document Financial Abuse, a step-by-step guide. I offered it free on my website. Within a month, it had been downloaded 43,000 times. 43,000 women who needed to know they weren't crazy, that their instincts were right. That documentation was power. That's when I realized I wasn't just running a business. I was building a movement. My assistant, Jordan, came into my office one afternoon with a stack of printed emails. You need to read these, she said. They were thank you notes. Women who'd used my guide, gathered evidence, confronted their partners, and either gotten their money back or gotten out. One woman wrote, I found $87,000 he'd hidden in a separate account. Your guide helped me prove it in court. I got everything back plus alimony. Thank you for giving me my life back. Another, my boyfriend said I was paranoid. Your checklist proved I wasn't. I left with my savings intact and my dignity restored. I read through every single one, tears streaming down my face. This was why that Christmas dinner mattered. Not because I humiliated Ethan. Not because I got revenge. But because my pain became someone else's roadmap. In October, I hired 2 more accountants. then a lawyer who specialized in financial abuse cases. By November, Devine Financial Recovery had expanded into 3 states. We didn't just help women document theft. We helped them rebuild. Budget plans, saving strategies, credit repair, everything they needed to stand on their own feet after someone tried to knock them down. And the best part? Every time I helped someone, I healed a little more too. Because here's what nobody tells you about betrayal. It doesn't just steal your money or your trust. It steals your sense of self, makes you question your judgment, makes you wonder if you'll ever be able to trust anyone again. But helping other women see clearly what I once couldn't, that gave me back something Ethan could never take. My purpose. In December, exactly 1 year after that Christmas dinner, I hosted a small gathering at my office. Not clients, not employees, just women who'd been through it, who'd survived it, who'd rebuilt. We didn't talk about our exes. We didn't rehash old wounds. We celebrated our businesses, our independence, our strength. One woman, Zara, stood up with her glass raised. A year ago, I thought my life was over. My husband had drained our accounts. I had 3 kids, and no way to support them. Clara helped me find the money, document the fraud, and file for divorce. Today, I'm running my own bakery. My kids are thriving. And I'm happier than I've been in 15 years. Everyone cheered. Another woman, Denise, spoke next. I came to Clara because I didn't trust my gut. Turned out my gut was right. My gut is always right now. More cheers. More stories. More proof that survival isn't just possible, it's powerful. As the night wound down, Jordan pulled me aside. You know what you did, right? She said. You took the worst moment of your life and turned it into freedom for hundreds of women. I looked around the room, at the laughter, the tears, the strength radiating from every corner. I didn't do it alone, I said. Every woman here did it for herself. I just showed them the receipts. That night, driving home through fresh snow, I thought about Ethan. Wondered where he was. If he'd found work. If he ever thought about what he'd lost. Then I realized I didn't care. He was a chapter I'd closed. A lesson I'd learned. A mistake I'd never make again. And me? I was writing new chapters every single day. Chapters filled with women who refused to be silenced, who demanded truth, who turned betrayal into bridges for others to cross. If you've ever felt like your pain was wasted, let me tell you something. It's not. Your story can be someone else's survival guide. Your courage can be someone else's permission to leave. Don't underestimate the power of your truth. Share this video if you know someone who needs to hear it. Let's build something stronger than what tried to break us. January brought cold winds and colder truths. The fallout from Ethan's firing rippled further than I expected. Thompson Logistics didn't just terminate him, they pressed charges. Corporate fraud, embezzlement, falsifying expense reports. I got a call from the district attorney's office in late January. Mrs. Devine, or should I say Ms. Devine now? Clara's fine. Clara, we're building a case against your ex-husband. We'd like you to testify. I paused. Testifying meant reliving it.
Publicly.
In a courtroom. Under oath. What happens if I don't? We still have enough to prosecute. But your testimony would seal it. I thought about all the women who'd reached out to me. The ones who stayed silent because they were scared. The ones who didn't have proof. The ones who thought no one would believe them. I'll testify. The trial happened in March. I wore a navy suit and spoke clearly, calmly, without emotion. I presented bank statements, receipts, transaction logs, everything I'd compiled that night back in December. Ethan's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive. Isn't it true you exposed your husband publicly to humiliate him? I exposed him publicly to tell the truth. You could have handled this privately. He handled our marriage privately while stealing from me. I chose transparency. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on 4 counts. Ethan got 18 months. Not in maximum security, but enough to know that actions have consequences. Enough to understand that stealing isn't just about money, it's about trust, dignity, and the futures you destroy. I didn't attend his sentencing.
Didn't need to.
That chapter was finished. But here's what happened next that I didn't expect. The media attention grew. A producer from a true crime podcast reached out. We'd love to feature your story. Not as a victim, as someone who fought back. I agreed. The episode aired in April. Within a week, it had 500,000 downloads. Then a publishing house contacted me. Have you ever considered writing a book? I hadn't. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Not a memoir. Not a revenge tale.
A guide.
Financial betrayal. How to protect yourself, document abuse, and rebuild your life. I signed a deal in May. Spent the summer writing. Poured every lesson, every strategy, every piece of advice I'd given to clients into those pages. The book released in October. It hit bestseller lists in 3 categories. Suddenly, I wasn't just Clara Devine, the woman who exposed her husband at Christmas. I was Clara Devine, financial advocate, author,
Speaker.
Invitations poured in. Conferences, workshops, universities wanting me to speak to business students about financial literacy and red flags in relationships. I said yes to most of them, because every time I told my story, someone else found the courage to tell theirs. One woman approached me after a talk in Chicago. I listened to your podcast episode 3 months ago. It gave me the courage to check our accounts. I found 50,000 missing. Filed for divorce last week. Another in Austin. Your book saved my sister's life. Literally. She was about to give her boyfriend access to her inheritance. Your checklist stopped her. These moments, these women reminded me why exposure mattered. Not for revenge. For revelation. To show others what manipulation looks like before it's too late. By November, Devine Financial Recovery had expanded to 7 states. We had 12 employees. A hotline. Free consultations for women in crisis. I wasn't just helping women recover financially. I was helping them recover themselves. One afternoon, Jordan came into my office with a letter. Handwritten. No return address. This came for you. I opened it carefully. Inside, just a few lines. You ruined my life. I lost everything because of you. I hope you're happy.
Vanessa.
I read it twice. Then I folded it back up and handed it to Jordan. File it under consequences. Because here's the thing people don't understand. I didn't ruin anyone's life. They ruined their own by choosing lies over truth. I just made sure the truth had a spotlight. That Christmas, exactly 2 years after the dinner that changed everything, I spent the holiday in a cabin up north with close friends. No drama. No speeches. No boxes wrapped in revelations. Just peace. We cooked together. Played board games. Watched snow fall outside the window while Milo dozed by the fire. One friend, Amy, raised her glass. To Clara. The woman who turned betrayal into an empire. Not an empire, I corrected. A lifeline.
Same thing, she said.
We clinked glasses, and for the first time in years, Christmas felt like what it was supposed to be. A celebration. Not a battlefield. That night, as everyone slept, I sat by the fire and thought about how far I'd come. 2 years ago, I was a woman who didn't know her husband was stealing from her. Now, I was a woman who helped hundreds of others see what I'd missed. 2 years ago, I was silent, scared, second-guessing. Now, I was loud, certain, unstoppable. The pain didn't disappear, but it transformed. Into purpose. Into power. Into proof that you can survive the worst betrayal and build something beautiful from the wreckage. If you're going through something dark right now, hold on. Document everything. Trust your gut. And know that survival isn't just possible. It's your birthright. Subscribe if this story resonated with you. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment and tell me, what would you do if you discovered someone you trusted had been stealing from you? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Spring came with new beginnings and unexpected closure. I was in my office reviewing a client case when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Ethan's mother. May I call you? I stared at the screen for a full minute. Patricia Devine. A woman I'd once called Mom. A woman who'd raised the man who betrayed me. I typed back, yes. She called immediately. Clara. Her voice was soft, weary. I know I have no right to ask for your time, but I needed to say something. I waited. I'm sorry. For what my son did. For not seeing it. For not raising him better. Patricia, you didn't steal from me. He did. I know. But I raised a man who thought he could. And that's on me too. Silence stretched between us. He writes to me from prison, she continued. He's different now. Broken, I think. He asks about you sometimes. What do you tell him? That you're thriving. That you're helping people. That you turned his worst into your best. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness. I wasn't there yet. Maybe never would be. But release. Thank you for calling, Patricia. Thank you for not hating me. I don't hate anyone. I just refuse to carry their choices anymore. We hung up, and I sat there for a long time, staring out the window at the budding trees. Ethan was in prison. His career was gone. His reputation destroyed. And me? I was free. Not because he was locked up, but because I'd finally let go of needing him to understand what he'd taken from me. Some people never understand the damage they cause. And that's okay. Your healing doesn't require their comprehension. In April, I spoke at a women's conference in Denver. 500 women in the audience. Survivors. Fighters. Women who'd rebuilt themselves from nothing. I told my story. Not for sympathy. For solidarity. I used to think exposure was about punishing him, I said. But it wasn't. It was about refusing to protect someone who'd hurt me. It was about choosing my truth over his comfort. The room erupted in applause. Afterward, dozens of women lined up to talk to me, to share their stories, to cry, to laugh, to say thank you. One woman, probably in her 60s, grabbed my hands. My husband did this to me 30 years ago. I stayed silent. I wish I'd had someone like you back then. You have someone like me now, I said. And it's never too late to tell your truth.
She cried. So did I.
Because that's what this journey taught me. Your story doesn't have an expiration date. You can reclaim your voice at 25 or 65. You can rebuild at any age. You can decide today that silence no longer serves you. By summer, my second book was in progress. This one focused on rebuilding after betrayal. Not just financial, but emotional, spiritual, the whole self. I interviewed dozens of women, therapists, financial advisors, lawyers. The book became a collaboration. A chorus of voices saying, "You're not alone, you're not crazy, and you're going to make it." In June, I got an email that made me pause. Subject: I owe you an apology. Sender: Vanessa Lane. I almost deleted it. Then curiosity won. Clara, I know you probably never want to hear from me again. I don't blame you. But I've been in therapy for over a year now, and my therapist suggested I write this. Not for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. But for accountability. I knew Ethan was married. I convinced myself it didn't matter because he said you two were basically done. That was a lie I told myself to justify what I wanted. I didn't know about the money until that night, but I knew I was participating in something wrong. I'm sorry. I'm working on becoming someone I'm not ashamed of. I hope you're doing well. You deserved better than both of us. Vanessa. I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back. Vanessa, I appreciate your honesty. I'm not ready to forgive, and I may never be. But I respect that you're trying to do better. That's more than most people manage. Take care of yourself. Clara. I hit send and closed my laptop. Forgiveness isn't something you owe anyone. But acknowledgement? Sometimes that's enough. That fall, Divine Financial Recovery celebrated its 3rd anniversary. We'd helped over 800 women recover a combined $12 million. $12 million that had been stolen, hidden, or manipulated by partners who thought they'd never be caught. We threw a small party at the office. Clients, employees, partners from law firms, and therapy practices. Jordan stood up to make a toast. 3 years ago, Clara walked into the worst Christmas of her life. Today, she's walked hundreds of women into their freedom. To Clara for turning pain into power. Everyone raised their glasses. I looked around the room at faces I'd come to know. Women who'd sat in my office crying, certain their lives were over. Now standing tall, running businesses, supporting their kids, dating again, trusting again. This was the real revenge. Not Ethan's downfall, but their rise. If you're rebuilding right now, know this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to take the next step.
Document.
Ask questions. Trust yourself. The clarity will come. Comment below if you're on your own rebuilding journey. Let's support each other. And if this story helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your courage might be the permission someone else needs to leave. 2 years became 3. 3 became 4. Time moved differently now. Not in the painful, crawling way it did during those first months, but in the steady, purposeful way it does when you're finally living instead of just surviving. It's Christmas again. 4 years since that dinner. I'm in the same cabin up north. Different friends this time, some from the business, some from my new life. Milo's older now, grayer around the muzzle, but still following me everywhere like he's afraid I'll disappear. We're cooking dinner together. Laughter fills the small kitchen. Someone's telling a story about a disastrous first date. Someone else is arguing about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. It's normal. Beautifully, wonderfully normal. My phone buzzes. I glance at it out of habit. An email. Subject. Checking in. It's from Ethan. He's been out of prison for 6 months now. Living with his brother in another state, working at a warehouse, trying to rebuild something resembling a life. He emails occasionally, not asking for anything, just existing in the periphery. I open it. Clara, I know you probably don't read these, but I wanted to say Merry Christmas. And thank you. Not for what happened, I earned that, but for showing me what real accountability looks like. I'm trying to be better. I hope you're well.
E.
I stare at it for a moment. Then I close it without responding. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because some chapters deserve to stay closed. He's not part of my story anymore. And that's okay. Amy comes over, wine glass in hand. Everything all right? Yeah, I say, setting my phone down. Everything's perfect.
And it is.
Because here's what 4 years taught me. Healing isn't linear. Some days you're strong. Some days you cry in your car. Some days you forget it even happened. Some days it hits you all over again. But you keep going. You build. You help. You trust again, carefully but genuinely. You learn that betrayal doesn't define you. Your response to it does. Later that night, after dinner, after gifts, after everyone settled in, I step outside. The snow is falling softly. The kind that makes everything look clean and new. I think about the woman I was 4 years ago, sitting in her car, holding a receipt, realizing her entire marriage was a lie. I wish I could tell her, you're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to help hundreds of women see what you couldn't. You're going to write books, speak on stages, build something meaningful from the worst pain you've ever felt. You're going to survive this. And then you're going to thrive. I hear the door open behind me. Jordan steps out, wrapped in a blanket. You good? She asks. I'm good. She stands beside me, watching the snow. You know what I love about your story? She says. You didn't just get revenge. You got free. I smile. Revenge was just the first step. Freedom was the destination. We stand there in comfortable silence. Then I turn to her. You ready for next year? We're expanding to 4 more states. Born ready. We head back inside, where warmth and laughter and the people I've chosen wait for me. As I close the door, I take one last look at the falling snow. Somewhere out there, Ethan's trying to rebuild his life. Somewhere out there, Vanessa's working on becoming better. Somewhere out there, Noah's probably celebrating with his new wife. And me? I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Surrounded by people who chose honesty.
Who chose growth.
Who chose me not because I was perfect, but because I was real. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this journey. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications because we have more stories coming, stories of survival, strength, and second chances. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one lesson you've learned from your hardest experience? Your story could be the thing that helps someone else keep going. And remember, silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strategy. But when you're ready to speak, make sure they hear you. Because the truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just glows quietly, like Christmas lights on a snowy night. And this year, peace was the only gift I needed. Merry Christmas. And may your truth always set you free.